Hi there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto, and today we're looking at a 1994 Rover Mini 1300. This one here was bought at auction in Japan. It's going to be imported to Canada. Here we have the engine running. This one is a 1300cc engine. The 1300s were, I guess, a new engine back in 1994. This is a fuel injected. Well, it says fuel injected. It's more like a throttle body injection, single port that goes into 4 ports for intake, 3 ports for exhaust, same side of the engine. Kind of old world technology, but it is a high torque, low RPM, low horsepower engine. I think that they put out somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 horsepower or so, 50 to 60, somewhere there. Has a side mount radiator here. The coolant in the radiator looks like it's in really terrible shape, and so that's going to need to be changed. Of course, we will chop it up before we ship it. It looks like just general dirtiness inside the engine. And then here's the oil filler cap. It looks like spilled oil on here that has gone down, and possibly some oil leaks in the valve cover you can see in this section here. Nice thing about this engine is easy access to the spark plugs. Not easy access to some pieces, especially these ones from Japan, which have the AC. You have your AC. Funny thing is, here you have the side mount AC, which is the much better version. Sometimes they have a tilt mount that's right here, and it's not, it just looks, well, looks worse. I'm not sure about the functionality. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. Interesting to mention, it's an R134, and so it's the modern AC, which is cold, and cold AC on kind of an older Euro car is a little bit of a nice thing. So pop that in there. Now the engine runs a little bit rough. Looks like it needs a little bit of massaging. Okay, so let's go over the auction sheet. 1994 Rover Mini. This is an auction grade R because it has been in an accident. Interestingly, they don't mention where the accident was. And interior is B. This is an original Japanese car. Front aftermarket bucket seats, aftermarket wheels, and they are really nice 10-inch Revolution wheels that need to be tidied up. I love 10-inch wheels on the Minis. This one would have come from the factory with 12s, and so going down to the kind of more classic look of the Revolution wheels is really cool. Disc brakes on the front and drum brakes on the back, and I believe that they're aftermarket disc brakes on the front, which is why the pedal feels a little bit desensitized, I guess, until it gets nice and warm. Okay, so aftermarket exhaust is the center exit and aftermarket suspension, and the sad thing about the Minis is it's hard to tell what kind of suspension that it has because you can't actually see in there without taking the wheel off. A lot of people, when they do aftermarket suspension on these, they move from the rubber cones to springs, and so I'm guessing it's got springs, but I don't really know for sure. Now it looks like the tires have touched the fenders. They have some scraping on both front ones, touching these fenders, and I believe that these fenders are a larger fender than comes on the 1994, but don't quote me on that, because I might be wrong. Okay, onto this one, fender mirrors on it. I believe these ones are the factory fender mirrors. These, the Minis came with the door mirrors after a certain time, but then in Japan they thought that the classic front fender mirrors are really cool. Plus fender mirrors are fairly popular here just because of the way that the roads are, and so from the factory they would have these rectangles here and the fender mirrors put on. Okay, steering wheel wear, seat wear, wheels scratched, front window rock chip, interior dirty and scratched, and rear floor dented. Now it says underside surface rust and corrosion, and if you take a look at the body here, it also says roof, corrosion and paint cracks, corrosion on the right side and paint damage, and corrosion on the back there. Various scratches and dents. And so let's look at the condition of the vehicle. Now when I received this one, it seems to have more rust on the car than I was expecting. And the strange thing about this is that they're not in the common rusty areas for the Minis. Minis tend to rust a lot on the front inner panels, the side sills, the center support, and the bottom of the trunk. It also, some of them will rust on the roof, where that, you see the roof has this rain catcher here. and they tend to rust on that. This one doesn't have rust in really any of those places. It has a light dusting of it here and there. Nothing really serious, but it does have some kind of serious rust, and I'm a little bit disappointed that the auction inspector didn't mention it a little bit more clearly, especially the roof. Now, he did say rust and or corrosion and paint cracks on the roof, so he kind of did his job, but it looks like fairly serious damage, and I think that he should have been a little bit more descriptive of that. So let's take a look right here. And I've got close-up pictures and another video of these areas so that you can see in details if you want. And here. And it looks like it's been repaired at some point and then has rusted again. You can see the cracks are in the body filler. There's also, here's the right side, which it also said in the auction sheet, has it by the window. And then the back. Here. Here. Here, here. And here, and around the filler cap. There's a little bit at the base of the trunk that I can see. I couldn't take the battery out in order to see if it's worse down there. See right here, there's some. And then the side sills are nice and clean, even though this one has a pretty big dent in it. So commonly they'll rust right up here in this corner and on the other side. And then there's a section right where the front or the cross member comes, and this section commonly rusts, but no problem. Here's the dent there, and there is a bit of surface rust at the dent, but nothing really to worry about, I would say. Okay, there's some speckles on the hood of surface stuff, a bit in the cracks, and a tiny bit in the windshield. And so, yeah, I would say that it's a little bit surprising the amount of rust on there. It should be repaired, I think. The repair shouldn't be terribly expensive. Now, I guess let's get past that and show the rest of the vehicle. And so, oh, I didn't mention this, but the speckles here above the windshield, that looks much worse than it is. If you come up really close, most of this is just paint staining. It's not actually destroyed the metal in there. And so that should be a lot easier to repair. Okay. So it has the wide fenders on it, small wheels. It's a good looking car. The front grille has been changed to a Mark III. I didn't latch the hood there because it rattles when the engine's running a little bit rough as it is right now. So Mark III front grille, because it has the cutout here for the hood release. The old ones used to be able to release the hood from outside of the car. Mark I signals, which are kind of in bad condition, should be replaced. Parts like that are generally pretty cheap for minis. It's dirty, I'm sorry. Standard tail lights for this model. And then the updated rear badge. It looks more like the modern mini badge does these days. Open the trunk here. We have a mini mat in the trunk. And the fuel pump's really noisy. Large capacity fuel tank. It's 5.5 gallons. 25 liters. Funny that 25 liters is the large fuel tank for these cars. Okay, so the interior is really where this car shines compared to the exterior, which looks like it needs a little bit of work. So door cards are in good shape. They do have a little bit of a molding on them, but it's light dusting. You can see right there. Leather bucket seats, not leather. I don't know if they are, maybe vinyl. I'll call them vinyl. No power steering, of course. Original mini steering wheel in really good shape. Dashboard's in really good shape. It does rattle, but when the car's running more smoothly, it won't rattle very much. The AC works and it's nice and strong. Shifting is really good. Mechanically, the car is spot on. I drove it around the block and it was quite good. Rear seats match the front seats, and so it's really excellent when somebody puts in a matching set of rear seats with the aftermarket front ones. Rear card is coming off a little bit there, but this is normal mini things. And keep in mind that if you want to buy a mini, there are normal mini things like locks sometimes don't work, headlights sometimes don't work. This comes from a previous mini owner myself, and so Okay, that's going to be the end of the walk around. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you enjoyed seeing a car that the auction sheet didn't depict as well as it really should have. Most of the times when we look at the cars that we buy, they're pretty spot on with the auction sheet, but there's always a risk when it comes to buying that the auction inspector maybe just wasn't quite feeling it that day. And so good to see that give you an example of this to know what to expect. And so hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions you can post them in the comment section, or you can email me personally. And thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.